Okay, so thank you guys so much for coming tonight, and very special thank you to our special guest, Jessica Higdon. Most of you guys got to see her maybe for the first time speaking at the Top Earner Academy live. We get a lot of exposure to Ray, obviously, in Rank Makers, and we're a big, big fan of that. But we know behind every good man is an equally good, if not better, woman. And we had so much positive feedback from Teal for your segments. And one of the things that impressed the crap out of me is that Jess was not feeling good. She was not in her best state, but you could not tell that from when she was standing on that stage. She was so professional, even though she probably wanted to toss her cookies. And I really admire you, Jess, for working through that and for being there because of, the integrity that you have for your business and for what you guys put across as a brand. So thank you for everything that you do. And we know that you work very hard behind the scenes. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm honored to be on here. And I think it was the first time we met you was at a TAC retreat, right?
Well, just this recent one, just Teal. I wasn't around before.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was the last one. So, and I had heard amazing things about you and what you were up to. And then when I met you in person, I was just like, oh my gosh, I love this woman. And I'm sure most of you on here can totally relate to that. She's so caring and so amazing and so bright and brilliant. And so I just have to say that if you're on here, you're super lucky because we deal with a lot of different leaders and a lot of different companies. And it's not always the case that you have someone so humble who cares enough to even bring in an outside trainer or do the kind of education that Cristina is doing. So it's super rare and it's super awesome. And you're just amazing. And also after knowing me for a couple hours, she knew I wasn't feeling good. And she's like, can I take Sabrina for you? Can I watch her tonight for you? I watch her. No big deal. I'm like, you be careful what you wish for because I just might take you up on that. So I can't wait for a long-term relationship with you and your team, and just really, really honored and excited to be here.
Oh, thank you so much, Jess. That means so much to me, seriously. And you guys have this incredible ability to put some pretty amazing people in a room. And I'm constantly having my mind blown by what you guys do. So thank you. I asked you on here tonight because you started in the industry when you were 21 and you were working a full-time job and you were going to school full-time and you were busy, but you learned really quickly how to utilize social media and quickly learned how to turn it in your favor when maybe other people weren't doing the same things that you were. So I'd love to hear, your perspective of what social media did for your business, and then also, what you see, the biggest mistake you see people doing now on social media, and we'll kind of start that way.
Yeah. So for me, I think social media allowed me to show up differently, plain and simple. I had gone, not that this isn't where you should start, but I had gone to my warm market, and which is great for a lot of people. For me, it was a blow to my confidence because I was young. Like you said, I was 21 years old. Most of my friends were broke college students or their parents. And so whenever I would get in front of one of the parents for a presentation, I remember one distinctly. I was so excited because it was my first presentation that I was going to give, and I was nervous and excited. And so I go over to their house to give this presentation. And I spent way too long. I spent 90 minutes giving this presentation. And at the end, and they're acting really engaged and everything. And then at the end of it, they were like, oh my gosh, yay, and smiling and even little claps and everything. And I'm like, what's going on? And they go, Jess, you are so cute. Good job. Good for you. And then they just went on to what they were doing. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to be cute. That's not what you want to be in business, right? So that was my experience with my warm market, but I'm glad that I did it because it taught me what not to do. And those people that I did reach out to, some of them circled back around when I started having some success, which was cool. So, but anyway, I didn't have much confidence, especially after having things like that happen. And so what I loved about social media is it allowed me to build a network of people that I didn't already know, that didn't have a preconceived notion of what I should act like. So a lot of times we go to people that we know and we act a certain way just because that's the way that they expect us to, right? Or that's the way that we expect ourselves to, because we've had that personality for the last 30, 40, 50, 80 years. And the truth is that each and every one of you has a light inside of you. You've got brilliance inside of you. And if you allow that to shine and you forget about all the other preconceived notions that other people have or that you have about yourself, you can show up truly confident and truly meant to be how you're supposed to be, especially in this business, which I think it brings it out in all of us, whether we want it to or not. So coming onto social media, I just was way more confident because people didn't know me. They didn't know my age. They didn't know anything about me. I could just show up the way that I wanted to. So that really, in a nutshell, and yeah, we'll talk about strategy on here, which is important. But overall, I think that's really what catapulted my business, is that I was able to show up differently and people could feel that, and people, would join because of that. So fast forward.
Sorry, when you say differently, you mean authentically. You could authentically be who you wanted to be, right?
Yes. So that's a good distinction. I don't mean that you're lying or saying, showing pictures of Lambos or holding up $1 million checks or, any of that weird stuff, right? I didn't do any of that. I didn't lie about my success. I didn't have to, because I showed up authentically the way that I felt I truly was inside, and nobody would prejudge me for that. A lot of times we go to, like our mom or our dad or our sister or our friends, and they're like, why are you acting so different? Like, what's going on here? Why, and I didn't want that. So I liked it that social media allowed me to do that. And I would reach out to people and just be very postured and be very confident. And they just thought that's the way that I was. And inside I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's too aggressive. Am I, but they just thought that's the way that I was. So they didn't see it any differently. So that's what I meant there. And then what was your second question?
Yeah, I know, right? Sorry. Totally loaded questions.
No.
And my second question was, because I have watched your how to build a perfect profile and how to show up on which is strategy. But what do you see people doing? Like, what's the biggest mistake you see people doing on social media?
I think it's still looking for the quick sale. And so that could be through your messaging, or it could be through your posts or whatever, and just not engaging enough. People don't realize that this Facebook and Instagram and different social media platforms, they actually reward you for engagement, which means that, like, if you're going to do a live or a post, you want to engage before and right after, because more people are going to see that. Also, if you have people commenting on your stuff and you're not responding back to them, or you're not reaching out to them, and you're not building that trust in the relationship, they're going to stop. They're going to stop. They don't want to interact with people who don't interact back. You know it about yourself, right? If somebody never comments ever, then you're just not going to interact with them. Some of the best leaders that we see are constantly showing up on on social media of other people, not their own. Okay, yeah, they're consistent on their own, but they are constantly showing up on other people's profiles and pages and videos, and just even to say like a quick "you rock" or "this is awesome content, thanks for sharing." Those little things, don't take those for granted. And I think most people do, and they're still looking for the quick fix. They're still looking for, what's the magic script, or what's the magic post that I can do that's going to get people into my business, because there are so many strategies out there. There's so many different things that you can do. And so you see one that works and you think, oh my gosh, that's got to be it, right? I'm going to try that. And you try it for like 7 days and nothing happens. And then you're like, oh, this doesn't work. That must not be it. It must be this one. And the internet kind of does that for people, that shiny object syndrome. And eventually, in a 90-day period, you've tried like 10 different things and you never gave any of them time to work. And if you just take it back down to basics of how fast and how big can I grow my network through relationships, you will never go wrong, and you'll have that network for wherever you go. Wherever you go, there you are, right? So it's the foundation that people are really missing these days. And you may have heard that before, but just ask yourself, are you really utilizing that to its full capacity? And most people aren't.
I think too, you know, when we first started this, it was maximizing your exposure through messaging. Like, how many messages can you get out in a day? And it wasn't personal. And I'm going to admit to that. That's something that I've changed my behavior since being in Rakemakers. And I think that for somebody that is driven in business or has goals to hit, sometimes they think that the commenting or the conversation part of the building relationship, that could be a waste of their time when they should be enrolling people. But actually, that's playing the long game, and it will increase your sales exponentially if you continue to do that daily, even if you're not seeing the constant enrollments every single day, right?
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I just built a little relationship with someone. And I'm not talking like, you know, I don't tell people to go out there and build a relationship for 6 months. Okay. You don't need to know their kids' names and their dog's names and their dog that died 10 years ago. Like, we don't need to know all of that. If you know it, great. But we don't need to dive that deep for a long period of time. But just reach out for like a few days and just building that relationship, asking some good questions. A lot of people aren't ready right now, but it's okay. Now they're in your network, right? I always looked at, who can I get in my network? Who can I get to see my stuff? Who can I add as a friend? Who can I get as a follower? Who can I start interacting with to create that relationship? And I can't tell you how many times for myself and tons of people that we've worked with, that they've created that little relationship, and then a month, 2 months, 6 months down the road, sometimes years down the road, they reach back out to them and say, hey, I'm ready now. Like, I've seen some of your stuff, or, you know, something's changed in my life and I'm ready for something different. I've noticed you posting a little bit here and there about things, and I'm just curious about what you do. It happens so much. And if you don't take that little bit of time, like whether it's just 3 or 4 messages back and forth, or, you know, you're getting to know them for a couple days, maybe a week, if you don't take that time, you're actually going the slow route, because you're going to get people, you may just by sheer numbers, which is important too. You want to get the numbers done, but just by sheer numbers, you may get in some people right away, right? But then those people, they don't have a relationship with you. They're going to think that they have to do the same thing. And if they have to go through hundreds or thousands of people to get a couple of signups just by going through numbers, they're probably going to quit, and you're not going to see that duplication long term. Plus, you should be pre-qualifying people. What if you reach out to someone and they're a total jerk, right? Like, why in the world? I never understood it. Why would you send a random message to someone? I mean, I get why, because you're trying to get that fast sign up, right? All you're thinking about is the money. And some people are in really difficult situations and they need the money. But it's going to hurt you in the long run. Why in the world would you just tell someone, join my business, or would you be open to joining my business right away, when you have no idea if this person is going to be a nightmare for you to work with? And we learned that the hard way. And that happens a lot. So you should be qualifying people. They should have to jump through a few little hoops and answer a few questions to work with you and prove that they're serious before you send them a video and you do all this follow-up and you go through all the steps, and then nothing, crickets, right? So, or they curse you out, or they start bashing you in your company or whatever, and then it just takes your self-esteem down even more, which doesn't help any of us. So
absolutely. Jamie just asked, what's your initial opening message, or do you base it on posts you see? Like, I know that Ray has kind of taught us to reach out and say, you know, are you open? Are you not open? You know, like, give them an out, and then and just see if they want to make some extra money, or if they know anybody, ask for the referral, right? But I guess I know why Jamie's asking that, because we were taught to add a bunch of friends to our network. And I know that that's something that Ray's kind of talked a little bit to me about, because just kind of bear with me for a second, because our way of thinking in the beginning is, if you come in with 100 friends, Or you're looking at somebody that came in with 1,000 friends. The person with 1,000 friends has more exposure, right? But as people were growing their lists and growing their lists, they weren't organic. Like they were just like random kind of ads. So we weren't getting the exposure that we needed with the algorithms. And I think that that was really hurting people's business and reaching out to them. So how would your initial opening message wouldn't necessarily be to somebody that you're already friends with, would it?
No, and here's what's funny is Ray and I have a totally different approach on social media. And I shouldn't say totally different because we each give them an out and ask if they're open. I just do it a little later than he does. And I don't know if that's a male female thing, a personality thing. It just goes to show you that there isn't one way that you can build a business, right? Do what works for you. We're just giving you guidelines. So don't take your personality out of it completely, right? If you are someone that feels confident of just asking if they're open and you feel like you could find the right people to do that, then do that. If you want to build a little more rapport and get a little more qualification, then do that. For me, what I would do is I would really research, and I don't mean I take 10 minutes per person. I mean, I take, 2 to 5 minutes for 2 people or so. And I would really research what type of person they are, what they were into, and what they were saying on social media, which means I would maybe find a group or a fan page that I thought, hey, these are some people that I can jive with. Like for me, it was Tony Robbins and The Secret and a few other influencers and different books and things like that. And I would go to that group or that page and I would look at the comments very specifically, and I would see who's got a funny comment, like who's got some humor in their life, or who is agreeing with something like that I really agree with. So if Tony Robbins would post a status about accountability and taking self-responsibility for your own life and your own path, and there were people on there that would make some really, really good comments, and then there were a lot of people that were like, well, but I've got this, you don't understand about that, and what about this? And the mistake that people are making is they're reaching out to all of those people when, why do you want someone on a post like that that's saying, well, you don't know my life, like my life's horrible, and they're actually taking time out of their day to tell everyone how horrible their life is. Like there are a lot of people like that. So I would go onto those posts and I would look for good comments, people that I would jive with, and I would look at their profile. First step actually is I would respond to their comment, okay? And I would, now you can mention them. Back when I did it, you couldn't mention them, but now you can mention them, right? And say, hey, Grace, I love this comment. That's awesome. So you're now at the forefront of their mind, right? They get a notification. They see that you responded. They see that you actually care about what they're saying. Then I would look at their profile, see if there's any ammunition or anything I can go on from there, anything we have in common. And then I would reach out to them, okay? And Facebook really likes that. Facebook really likes that. They don't want you to mass message people. They're not going to give you the exposure like you were experiencing, right? And they're going to make it so that it goes into their other folder, or they don't see it, or you can't even message them at all. So that's why the comment function is so important and so awesome, because even if it does go into their other folder, you can say, hey, I sent you a message on their comment, right? But so I would do that, and I would reach out to them with a very simple formula. And it's what I've been teaching for years that lots of people have seen really, really good results with. So it's just, I always use their first name in the message. I would then ask them or tell them why I was messaging them, some kind of enticing first sentence, okay? Because they're getting a bazillion messages. You want to make sure that they're seeing yours and actually going to open it. Again, why you're messaging them, and then ask them or tell them some kind of form of excitement or something that you have in common with them, something that lets them know, hey, I checked out your stuff, okay? And then ask them a really good question, like, what do you do and how long have you been doing that for? Or, hey, I noticed that you are from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm also from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm actually working with a lot of people out there just out of curiosity, and this is where you can kind of use some of Ray's stuff, are you open to any, additional income outside of what you're currently doing? And if not, no worries at all. But I really, really jive with your comments and what you've been saying. So the key is you want to make them feel special, but you want to also position yourself as, hey, I don't reach out to everyone. I'm reaching out to you specifically because, and give them a reason why. People love reasons why, right? And then tell them why and make yourself, positioned higher, but also tell them, hey, you're pretty special. Like, I don't reach out to everyone. Okay. And so that's going to start the conversation, if that helps.
I think that's gold. That's actually really super helpful. And Brandy asked, do you do this all in one day, or do you wait before reaching out to them after commenting? Like, is it something that you can kind of do in sequence, or do you do some commenting one day and then go back and message them the next day on their profile?
I always did it right away.
Yeah.
Because most people are on their social media a lot, especially now with mobile. And again, when I started, they didn't even have mobile and they were on there a lot. So I want them to see like a notification and then see that I'm reaching out to them. Like, I want them to see me a couple times. And then, the next day, if I haven't heard anything, then I might comment on their comments again, or on their wall, and just say, hey, by the way, I sent you a message. Hope you're doing well. Make sure to check your other folder. Now it's called what's it called now? It's not other folder anymore.
I know what you mean. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah. It's just it's the other folder that you have that doesn't show your messages right away.
It's just the confusing place where messages go to die.
Right. Exactly. Message graveyard.
Well, I think that that really helped me, actually, personally, who I've felt a little bit stuck since the whole Facebook debacle, but that really helped me in growing my network now. So thank you for that, Jess. I really
absolutely.
Could you talk to us a little bit about what a great profile looks like, and I remember you talking about it being congruent across all platforms.
Yeah. So your profile is like your first impression on social media, right? So I always treated it as, if I'm going to walk into a coffee shop and go belly to belly prospect someone, or cold market prospect someone, and my hair is like that. And I'm like, hey, by the way, you look like someone that'd be great for my business. I could be the sharpest, most amazing person in the world, and you're not going to listen to a word I say because I look like a crazy person, or that might not be at all, or if I have mustard all over my shirt, right? So I wouldn't obsess over the way that your profile looks, but I would take a look at it and make sure that it's professional, right? Which means no company name everywhere. That's a big mistake we see people making, because they see the top leaders with their company stuff everywhere, and then they think, oh, that must work for them, it'll work for me. Most of the time, that has nothing to do with how they got to the top of the company at all. So you want to make sure you have that, that you don't share any of that stuff. And it really should tell a story of, okay, who are you? Who are you? And people struggle with this, but it doesn't have to even be business related. What are you into? I just had a daughter 3 years ago. So I put her everywhere, and I have, we're very family oriented. We're a very family oriented brand. So I have that everywhere. I teach social media. So I do talk about that. Who do you help, and who are you? So for me, I say I help home business entrepreneurs that want to learn social media. Getting specific is great. You should never say oh, I'm a health and wellness coach. Never say anything like that, because there's 8 million of them, and it doesn't distinguish you at all. What would be better to say, in your info section or something, would be, hey, I'm a gluten-free gut health expert, right? Something specific, or it doesn't even have to be expert, but hey, I'm passionate about helping people restore their gut health. Whatever, whatever you think is good. And you relate that to you and your industry. So that's your kind of your info and what you should have on there. Professional pictures, which means your iPhone. Okay, there's no excuse not to have great pictures on there anymore. It's just silly. But really, what's going to engage someone is your banner and your posts. you got to make sure that you're not spamming in your posts all the time. You want to make sure that you're creating a little curiosity, but people love stories. They want to be taken on the journey with you. They want to see success stories. They want to see people that have gone from struggle to success. And that doesn't necessarily mean business-wise. And it doesn't have to be you. And that's what people, I think, struggle with a lot, is they think, oh, well, I haven't lost 50 pounds, or I haven't, made $1 million. So what in the world do I post about to get people curious? Stories. If you see someone in your company that has an amazing story, like they lost 100 pounds, or they just, their marriage is better because of the training that they just got in your team group, right? Whatever that is. Or tonight with this training, I would be posting, like, take a screenshot of this right now and be posting, I'm so blessed to be masterminding with all these amazing men and women. So these types of things are what are going to create curiosity. And you don't mention the company. You don't even mention the product. You just mention the people's background and where they came from and their little success now that they've had. You want to make it relatable to anyone out there. I remember in college, I saw a post. I had no idea what Mary Kay was. No idea. But I loved makeup. And so I saw a post about like this before and after, and this girl talking about how she didn't just do a before and after, okay, which is what most people do. She started talking about the root of why she loved doing what she did. She said, before, when I didn't really have any self-confidence, I would constantly look in the mirror and hate myself. In fact, every morning I would look in the mirror and cry because I thought I was so ugly. Like, getting really real and to the root of her issue. And then she said, but now that I have great training and great products and a good platform that I can start learning from, I feel confident inside and outside. So really think about those stories that you can relay on your profile. That's what's going to make people curious. And I promise you, if you're messaging people and you're showing care and you're asking good questions and you're building that little relationship, they can't help but look on your profile. That's the first thing they're going to do and say, should I be talking to this person? Is this somebody that I want to continue a relationship with? Is this somebody that I want to add to my friends? And if you don't have those core things on there, the answer might be no. If you have, we love your dogs, we love your kids, okay? But if all you have are pictures of them and you don't have any of you or any of you and your spouse or anything like that, or you doing anything, chances are they're going to be like, I don't know about this person, okay? So just little things like that you want to think about. What would you be attracted to? If somebody reached out to you, what would you like to see? And honestly, a great hack to this is just follow Christina's, see what she's doing, and kind of emulate that.
It's funny that you say that, Jess, because we know that you're a family brand, right? Like, that's done on purpose. And because Jess and Ray are so vulnerable with their life and show bits and pieces, people trust them. And people don't buy products, they buy people. They're here. We were on a Zoom last night with Lisa Grossman, and a huge light bulb went on to me that we follow up with people until they order, and then what? But that is the start of our relationship. Like, that's not where the follow-up stops. That's where the follow-up starts. And now you're building a lifelong relationship with these people. And the people that are working with Ray and Jess, they've got massive teams because they spent the time building the relationships. And, to have 1,000 people that you have a relationship with versus 10,000 people that you're constantly replacing, like, it's working smart and not hard, right?
Absolutely. It's just, bottom line is, I just don't think people think long-term, especially now. Again, they have shiny object syndrome. They see something new. They see, oh, that must be the answer. And you have to 100% believe not only in your company and in your product and in you, but you have to believe in your strategy and the execution behind it, that you're going to execute it and you're going to continue until you reach whatever goal that is. And so of all the leaders that we've worked with, not one of them, not one, has said, yeah, I just posted and I got 8,000 signups and I don't talk to any of them. I don't do anything for any of them, but you know what? My check has stayed pretty consistent for the last 10 years. That doesn't exist. Okay. Now, we've had many leaders that have gotten in and done the work and built the relationships and worked with the leaders and gotten their teams to very, very high incomes in certain points where they can step away for some of them 5 years, some of them 10 years, some of them 15 years. But guess what always happens? They lose their purpose and they want to come back and they want to be in the field, or they want to grow and start cultivating those relationships. And some of those teams, you know, they do after 10, 15 years, they start to kind of dwindle and they've got to get back in the game. But it's just, you just don't build anything. And our business is no longer in building network marketing, it's in training. So it's more of a traditional company now, but there's no way that we make money without relationships. There's just no way. There's no way we have a great lifestyle without relationships. Any company that you look at out there, even if they don't actually like have a one-on-one conversation with you, if you have a bad experience and you feel like they just do not care, like look at an airline, okay? Look at the airlines. You have bad experiences all the time, I'm willing to bet. And you swear you're never going to fly that airline again, and you don't for a long time, right? So they have relationships with their customers, whether it's good or bad. You have relationships. If you keep them good, for the most part, then you'll have a more long-term sustainable business. And there, like I said, there's not one leader that I've ever heard of that said, yeah, I just had this automatic system and I just marketed and it was great. Like, that it doesn't start that way.
No, I really appreciate that, Jess. You know, do you guys have any questions so far from what Jess has said? I feel so good and so solid about, you know, where we've been able to move forward since being part of Rank Makers and having the influence that you guys, and the concepts that you guys put across is so cool. Because you always tell us why. You always tell us why, and that makes it so easy to follow. Do you think with how popular social media is now, do you think that, you know, pivoting to other ideas, like I know that you guys have, you know, a reality show coming up. I know that you guys are doing a podcast. I know. So do you think for somebody that's in network marketing, is it good to just focus on where they are in their business and recruiting, or do you look at other ways to reinvent yourself and find exposure in different areas?
Well, exposure is always a great thing, but you want to make sure you don't overcomplicate it. And so for like, when we built to the top of our network marketing company, our whole focus was recruiting, training, duplication, recruiting, training, duplication. And we found exposure through, home meetings. We found exposure through networking events. We found exposure through video, online video. We found exposure through anything that we could. We found exposure, but it wasn't like we were taking time away from the recruiting, the training, and the duplication to go like do this massive strategy. Like you wouldn't just take away a month to go create a reality show. I mean, we do that because our business model is very different nowadays. And we're spending a lot of money to do this, and we have no idea what's going to come of it. And you just don't need to do that in network marketing. That's the amazing thing. Like I miss a lot of it because, obviously our focus is training and coaching. It's where we're meant to be for this profession for sure. But I do miss the simplicity of network marketing, and don't take that for granted. It is an amazing model. It's an amazing model. And so there's no reason for you to have to go out and spend tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars with no idea of what you're going to get back for it just to get exposure. Like, you don't have to do that, okay, in this profession, in this company. So as long as you're not spending money and you're not taking time, well, spending a lot of money that you don't
Right.
have with no guarantee of anything coming in, right? As long as you're not doing that and you're not taking a ton of time away from the core basics of what you need to be doing every day, then exposure is a great thing. And any avenue that you can find it in, I would absolutely go after if you can.
Michelle asked right here, how did you know in the beginning? This is such a good question, and it's such a good question because so many people need to know the answer to this. How did you know in the beginning when you were not getting a lot of signups to keep going that it would actually happen for you? Like that would, if you just kept going, you kept doing the same thing, how did you know? How did you have faith that that was going to work out for you?
I didn't know, but I looked at my alternative. And my alternative was, okay, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and being in the same place. Like I had no other options. For me, I had no other options. And I think that was a blessing because I probably wouldn't have kept going if I, had some other amazing thing that was set up for me, like, a trust or whatever, or some inheritance of a company or something like that. I didn't have any other options. I didn't have a lot of business experience. This was it for me. So I thought, okay, well, hey, what I'm doing, it's really not so bad. Okay, I'm not going out there. I'm not a soldier. I'm not risking my life for this country. I'm going out there and I'm getting some no's. Okay, it's not that bad. I mean, my life is overall, yeah, I'm struggling financially, but my life it's not a life or death thing right now. So I looked at that and I just put everything into perspective. And I think with business, it's all about perspective, or else you can get sucked into the woe is me and the why isn't this working for me? Am I on the right path? Is this what I should be doing? And honestly, oftentimes when we start having those conversations, it's almost like a test. And it sounds weird, but we're right at the brink of an amazing breakthrough. And then if we don't allow ourselves to get past that point, it'll never happen. Like every time I felt the urge to quit and I was so frustrated, and we all go through it in this business, even $1 million earners, they go through it too. When you feel that urge to quit, or something makes you so uncomfortable or nervous, or you just feel like you start questioning yourself every day, a lot of times it's where you're about to have a huge breakthrough in your business. Every time we had a big breakdown, or I had a big breakdown personally, I always came out of it like within a day or even within a week with a huge breakthrough. So I would keep remembering that, and I would just look at your alternatives. And if there's not a lot of other things out there for you, which I'm guessing there isn't, and there shouldn't be, like this should be your option, then I would just keep going and just have faith.
Thank you so much, Jess. That's exactly the message that you want to put across to people when they first start, when they tell you their why. How could you quit on your why, and what's your alternative? Makes it really easy for me to get up in the morning, and not have to have an alarm clock and get excited to talk to all these ladies. That's for sure. It makes it really, really easy.
Yeah.
If you guys don't have any other questions, I don't want to keep Jess for too much longer because she is, it's getting late, and I know what it's like when you're pregnant. You just want to hit the pillow. So
Okay.
thank you so much for your time, Jess. I really appreciate you. I appreciate what you bring to the table, and we're always, always, always grateful for any time that you have for us.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you guys so much, and go out there and crush it. I want to hear all the stories. So
we're doing it. We're doing it this month.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay, we'll see you soon, Jess.
Bye.
Thank you.